Hi everybody, I'm Ganesh. David here. It's Sunday afternoon on March the 1st, 2020. I'm in the mood to talk today and to explain something about the charts and what's happening in the skies right now. In my last video, I showed a chart of Washington, D.C., and I thought I would kind of go back in time a bit and start with the inception of the United States, the birth of the United States, as it were, and on July 4th, 1776. When the Constitution was inaugurated in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now we have two dates for the Constitution. One date is 1776, and then there's another one which is the actual inception or what would you say, the beginning of the Constitution, or the beginning of the United States as we know it today. On July 4, 1776, there are very few people or very few dignitaries there to sign the Constitution. The inception was begun by Benjamin Franklin and others. Benjamin Franklin, his hometown was Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so he was a very important person in starting the United States government and applying the rules of the Constitution as we know it today. Or actually, that's controversial, but then again, the actual Constitution itself was not ratified, so to speak, or signed into law until August 2nd, 1787. Actually, I have to change the date here. So a little over 10 years later, the major players and presidents, some were presidents or past presidents at the time, actually signed the Constitution into law. So which date was it? Which was the birth of the United States of America? Was it July 4th, 1776, or August 2nd, 1787, or somewhere in between? It's hard to say, but astrologers could actually work with both dates. I'm going to have both charts up here just to maybe switch back and forth for different reasons. We'll see. But let's go back to, this is the 1787, I guess, ratification, you can call it, of the Constitution. And on July 4th, Independence Day, this was the inception of the Constitution, not yet ratified by all the states. So, interestingly, and I'll try to get this light. There's nothing I can do about this overhead light where I am today. I'll try to zoom in on the planets here, where the sun is especially. So you can see on, and this is sidereal. This is not tropical. I use the sidereal for most of my work. The sidereal zodiac, as opposed to the tropical zodiac. I am a Vedic astrologer. So here we see we have the sun in the 8th house on the July 4th, 1776 at what's about 6 o'clock in the evening, apparently. These are the times and the information that we're getting. We don't know if this is actually true, factually, but this is what the general agreement is, that it was signed at 1700 hours on the 4th of July, 1776, the first Independence Day. So anyway, what's interesting to me and gives me an indication that it could be correct is this lineup in the 8th house. If any of you are familiar with the 8th house, we know that the number one quality that's attributed to the 8th house is transformation. So I think everybody would agree that there began a transformation of the states. The transformation of our country had begun when they created laws that applied to this country alone, and they broke free from the snares and snatches of the British. And this is why they came to this country, to get away from the oppression, especially of the church, that the church had over the government at the time and throughout time. Really, if we look at history, we'll see that the church has quite an effect on the government, on influences to the government. So, and I see here we have Jupiter too. Jupiter is the planet of spirituality. So we have Jupiter and the Sun, which are powerful planets, which are compatible planets within themselves, are in the 8th house. Sun in the 8th house is a powerful place for the Sun to be. In Gemini, more or less in Gemini, but still, overall, it's a powerful place for the Sun, and the Sun gets a lot of support from Jupiter and vice versa. So this is a powerful place here. And then we see Mars too. So Mars and Jupiter and the Sun are all fire planets, and they're all together in the 8th house, which would make this a starting point of something very, very significant. And we also have Venus there. Venus, I would say Venus is probably throwing a bit of a wrench into the works in essence, because it's a fairly incompatible planet. It's an Earth planet. The other ones are fire planets. Venus, although Venus may smooth things out and make things a little nicer, but Mars and Venus together here, although they're not in tight conjunction, they would create a lot of energy, a lot of passion. Whenever you see Mars and Venus in the chart aspecting each other strongly or conjunct in some way, although this is not incredibly strong conjunction, although they are in the same sign. So that would show a lot of passion. So this is kind of a setup for the qualities of the USA. So we have qualities of the Sun. The Sun is the ruler, the king. We have Jupiter. Jupiter is the benefactor. Jupiter represents, like I said, spirituality and religion. So this country was based on religious principles, although the purpose was to break away from the influence of the Church of England. Still, we consider ourselves a quote unquote Christian nation. So I thought that was an interesting combination there, and a powerful setup in the 8th house for July 4th, 1776. But then the planets look pretty good. They're pretty strong. We look at a graph. It's called the Shadbala graph. Shadbala is a number of indicators. It's the strength of the planet, and how much power that planet has to operate in the chart and do what it needs to do. So all those planets in the 8th house are fairly good with Shadbala. I'll take you down to a Shadbala graph down here. Here's a Shadbala graph. So the only planet here that looks like it's a bit weak is Mercury. Every other planet, if it's above a number 1, we have, for example, we have the Sun 1.02, Moon 1.30, Mars 1.14, and then Mercury 0.92. It really should be above 1.0. That shows there's a definite weakness in Mercury. And what does Mercury stand for? I mean, what are the qualities of Mercury? Number 1 is communications. Mercury is the planet of communications. It rules Gemini and it rules Virgo. Also, Mercury is the planet of material world intelligence, management. You look at Mercury in your chart and see how well you are able to manage your life. Well, this shows kind of a weakness in Cancer. When Mercury is in Cancer, Cancer is a water sign, Mercury is an earth sign. So earth and water don't exactly mix very well. I saw a Rodney Dangerfield movie one time, and Rodney says, I'm an earth sign, my wife's a water sign. When we get together, we make mud. I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, corny, I guess, but a little funny. So anyway, so we have Mercury in the. Let me go over here. I'm a little off, but so we have Mercury in the 9th house. The 9th house is actually a Jupiterian house, ruled. The 9th natural house is Sagittarius. Even so, Jupiter, although it is a planet of intelligence, it's not really compatible with Mercury. Mercury is more material intelligence, and Jupiter is spiritual intelligence. So I'm saying that because, like I said, the ninth natural 9th house is ruled by Jupiter. Although this is not ruled by Jupiter, we're not in the natural 9th house, but we're in Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. Cancer's water. Mercury, Earth, moon, water. Again, it's not in such a good situation here. So I think we had good spiritual, good religious background and intentions for this country. But when it was incepted, the intelligence, the intelligence to carry out the plan was a little bit lacking at this time. And we'll go into the actual 1787 chart, see if Mercury improves in that chart. So we also have Mercury and Rahu together. That's not such a bad combination. It could actually create extreme intelligence in ninth house matters. But still, you have if your intelligence is a little skewed, you may have extreme intelligence, but it's not working as it should. So that would kind of be my synopsis of the United States. It's like we're a very intelligent country, but our intelligence is kind of skewed. We don't do things. We know how to build skyscrapers and bridges and roads and make money and all that kind of stuff, but we're always finding ourselves in messes because of the decisions with our intelligence. Our decisions are just a bit off. And that decision-making ability affects a lot of different areas and not just one. But, overall, we get by. It's a good country. It's a little crazy right now, but love it or leave it. So in any case, I'm not doing a full-on chart here. I'm just zooming in on certain things that I see, and I want to bring it up to date in a few minutes and get a better picture of what's going on right now. What's going on with this particular chart in the year 2020. And we'll just look at aspects. There's ways to look at it a little more closely to make predictions, but we can do that with solar returns. But we're just going to look at aspects right now to see what the planets are doing in the sky. So let's go back to or go forward to 1787. So is this the actual inception, or is the other? Is 1776 the actual inception? It's really up to you as astrologers or budding astrologers to do your analysis, what you think it should be. But I'll just point out a couple things here. Firstly, we have Rahu in the first house in Sagittarius. That's some wild stuff. That's some wild stuff because now we're putting Rahu in a fire sign, and Rahu's going to act like Jupiter. So whenever you find the South Node or North Node, this is North Node, in a sign, especially by themselves, it tends to act like the ruler of the sign that it's located in. So we're having Rahu here acting like Jupiter. And what I say about Jupiter before, I said Jupiter is a planet of spirituality and religion and philosophy and higher learning, and it's also a benefic planet, the most benefic planet, and it wants to award all good things. Does it? With Rahu there, it could be a wild ride. It wants to award good things, but what is it actually doing? So let's take a look at where Jupiter is actually residing. Okay, if we go over here to Gemini, we see that Jupiter, which is known as the dispositor, or the ruler, the boss of Rahu, is located in the 7th house of relationships with Ketu. So relationships, very important. So is our country based on relationships, or is it based on transformation? Probably both. Or maybe transformation of relationships. Transformation in a lot of different ways. And this, democracy that we live in is said to be just an experiment. It's nothing solid. So it's ever changing. That 8th house, transformation means change. So things are changing all the time. So still we have Jupiter in Gemini again, as we did in the July 4th chart of 1776. It's still there. So there's transformation within the 7th and 8th houses, which are, the 8th house is also relationships. The 8th house is the product of relationships. You look to the next house or the next sign from 7 to 8. So what have we learned from the 7th house? In this case, we go back. Like what have we're kind of unwinding into the 7th position from the 8th. So we're transforming, and then we're like going backwards. Jupiter's going backwards in a sense to the 7th house. Now we become a country, instead of a country based on, you know, spirituality and religious principles and moving forward and all those fire planets in the 8th house, in a very powerful position. Now we kind of backtracked a bit. We're backtracking into the 7th position, in the 7th house. Jupiter in the 7th. Jupiter and K2 together. It's good. It's very good, actually. Jupiter and K2 together again are representing religion, spirituality. So, but the thing is, when we were in the 8th house in 1776, Jupiter, we were moving forward. The idea was to move forward out of the repressed clutches of the Church of England and the politics that it was intertwined with the royalty in England. So instead of moving forward to the 9th, now we're in the 7th. You know, we're moved back to maybe a more comfortable position. We just having a hard time moving out these old dogmatic forms of religion and spirituality. You see it happening now. You see it happening now. There was no Indian spirituality. There was no Vedas. Nobody knew about these things in America. And so if you don't know about progressed spirituality and religion, the tendency is to move backwards, is to find your comfort zone and not move forward into progress. You know, progressing that way into a more understanding and liberal, I call it, don't take the word liberal out of context either. You know, I don't mean liberals. I mean a more accepting form of spirituality. It seems like we move backwards. We move backwards. We're still holding on to this Christian dogma. You know, 200 years later, 300 years later, we're still holding on to this. And you may want to take a look at that. May want to take a look at that as a major cause of the problems that we're facing within America today. Because people will not move forward. It's not surprising. It really is not surprising. We tend to move toward our comfort zone. But our comfort zone is not always the place where we need to be. In order for us to solve the problems in the world, we need to move forward and not backward and not stay the same. Nothing stays the same. Look at yourself. Look at your bodies. Look at yourself in the mirror. Do you look the same? No, your bodies are changing. Everything is changing. So we need to move forward. Anyway, that's my rant in a way. So, let's see here. So like I said, I'm not going into great detail about this. I'm just showing the two charts, major charts, that are showing the direction of the United States of America.